In recent years, exchanges between Chinese and African media professionals have become increasingly frequent. These interactions are helping people on both sides to better understand each other, strengthening bonds as the two sides tell authentic stories about China and Africa. This is China-Africa Talk. I'm Gao Junya. Zimbabwe's Minister of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services, Zhemu Soda, has led a media delegation to China, aiming to deepen media cooperation and expand investment and trade collaboration. I sat down with Minister Soda to discuss Zimbabwe-China media ties, new opportunities under China's zero-tariff treatment for African countries, and how the two nations are aligning their development strategies.
Mr. Soda, thank you so much for this interview opportunity. And first of all, I just would like to know how's your trip so far? Could you please share with us some of the key priorities of your visit to China?
Thank you very much. We came, I would say, last week, and so far we have been enjoying the purpose of our trip, which something very well, and indeed we are enjoying the Chinese hospitality. To begin with, the trip was informed by our relationship that we have with the People's Republic of China, which dates back to so many decades ago, and from the ministry that deals with information and media is quite a group, a large group, I would say, that is traveled with me here to China. The purpose being to deepen our relationship, our collaboration that we have always had, and this time to ensure that as people responsible for chronicling the news, we are aware of the things that make China to be where it is and whom the people are to know them better. So far, we have had an opportunity to understand the China history, the dynasties that have been there before, and where the values of China entered on. So we're actually enjoying and we are sharing a lot of information and some expertise that China has in the area of information and media.
As you just highlighted, media collaboration is definitely one of the key priorities of your visit. And we know that actually in recent years there's been increasing media exchanges between Zimbabwe and China. And so when it comes to further media collaboration and to strengthen people-to-people mutual understanding, what more can you do? And what benefits are these exchanging programs are bringing to such understanding?
Thank you very much. Usually when we have these collaborations, we are sharing information, we are sharing experiences, as much as this time we are here to learn more of your experiences, but also these exchanges are also reciprocal in terms of benefits, where even the people from China, you are also benefiting from the exchanges that you also have with us in terms of understanding us much better where we are coming from, our history, our cultural perspectives, our traditions as Zimbabwe, the kind of offerings that we have from our country, which China can also benefit from. So I think these exchanges are very, very important, and even going forward we must continue because it brings about better understanding of one another even as we collaborate in various sectors, including to ensure that as brothers and sisters, we are developing together. We are
in your opinion, what can Zimbabwe and Chinese media houses do to change this scenario and try their best to tell the China Africa and tell the China Zimbabwe stories more effectively?
I would say this approach is the best approach. Where, for instance, in this exchange program, you've invited us here. And since the day that we came, your endeavor has been to show us where you are coming from and the various places of interest, not only to Zimbabwe but probably to the whole of Africa. And if we continue to do that, we will also ensure that in future similar groups will also come to Zimbabwe. And we are showing them one of the world's wonders that we host in Zimbabwe and the Victoria Falls. And it's not only Victoria Falls, we have quite a number of places of interest to tell you about our history. I think that changes the narrative at the end of the day, because when you get to know someone better, that's when you will be able to tell a story about him or about her, being driven or being anchored by the knowledge that you would have obtained. So I think let's continue with these exchanges on these trajectories where we're sharing information about who we are, so that at the end of the day, out of that interest, the narrative can always change. Many times, narratives are created when you don't know, or probably depending on secondary information that you may have obtained. So this exchange has given us the opportunity to have first-hand information, which I think from the various media houses that we brought in, the professionals, when they go back, obviously that is going to influence the quality of narratives that they will be sharing with the people back home. And to me, that's a working strategy where they can be a shift from what we used to be focusing on, like you rightly saying, that probably Western kind, but as we continue to collaborate, to talk to each other more friendly, it means the narratives can begin to drift from the previous focus now to our relationship.
I'll just make sure myself sign up for such exchange programs. Yes, although I've been there for over 5 years, just I can't get enough of it. Okay, yes, so I believe many of my colleagues will fight for such opportunities.
Thank you.
Thank you. You know that you're also here for investment opportunities and to expand our investment collaboration as well. And there's a big development recently, actually. China's zero-tariff treatment to 53 African countries with diplomatic ties has taken effect just this month, May the 1st. So, in your opinion, how do you evaluate this policy? What opportunities will it bring to Zimbabwe? And also, from your standpoint, could you just please share with us some of the signature Zimbabwean products that we can, Chinese consumers can expect here in the Chinese market?
Thank you very much. It's something that we are looking up to seriously as Zimbabwe to obviously deepen our collaboration, our trade ties, and even our investment ties that we have always had with the People's Republic of China. We are looking at a balance of trade, which we think is going to improve, especially by this special window that has been opened, because previously, of course, there were some products that could not easily enter into China because of some barriers, one of them being some tariffs. But the removal of those tariffs for 53 countries between Zimbabwe is a very welcome development, which we would want to seize immediately as Zimbabwe as we speak. Our institutions that are responsible and that are active to facilitate trade between our two countries have already started to do their researches as to understand your market better in terms of how the products could be moved from our country until they get to China, the special arrangements depending on specific products that the markets may require, the logistical arrangements, it's something that they would want to understand better before this thing and the trading commences. But I'm already informed that back home they have already started to work towards ensuring that they have understood the market and the logistical arrangements have been made. So we're looking at increasing the level of exports, and we're just talking of citrus products. The whole of Africa seems to be exporting around between 240 to 280 million worth of exports of citrus into China. And that's an area where Zimbabwe can exploit extensively to ensure that we grow our citrus exports into China. We are good at producing blueberries, we are good at producing avocados, we are good at producing oranges, lemons, yes, and apart from just citrus, we can also export coffee, tea, and some spices into China. We are also looking at exporting flowers. Yeah, we do good flowers in Zimbabwe that can ultimately find their way into this Chinese market through the window that has just been opened. We also do hemp, which is good for medicinals and pharmaceuticals. Zimbabwe has had that expertise in producing hemp, and we also pride in our natural environment, our weather, and also the capacity that the Second Republic in Zimbabwe had to develop to construct dams. Almost in every province in our country, dams are a priority to be constructed, and we think we can leverage this construction of dams that we have just witnessed to ensure that we produce throughout the whole year, and we are not just dependent on rain-fed production, especially in the area of agriculture. So there is much more that we can do together through this special window that has been opened and extended to 53 countries in Africa. And to us, we are seeing that as an opportunity to increase our exports into China and also to correct the balance of trade. You might be aware that we are importing quite a lot in terms of mechanical equipment that we are taking into our country, electrical equipment, including vehicles that we are importing into Zimbabwe. So by increasing our exports into China, we hope the trade deficit that we have always had will now be corrected. Yes.
So increased export is one side, and we know that this policy will definitely help to help both the whole customer as well. So in your opinion, what role will it play in terms of Zimbabwe's industrialization and this zero-tariff treatment?
Yeah, thank you very much. This opportunity in immediate will ensure that the capacity that we have already had in the past will fully be utilized to produce goods that will be finding their way doing, especially in the area of agriculture, to the standards that the Chinese market would require them to be presented. And that calls for further investments into processing, into manufacturing in our country. So this is not just a window for exporting what we already have, but for further development of our country in terms of strengthening our future trade endeavors, and by so doing obviously jobs for the local people will be created. So we are not just seeing this as a small opportunity or a small thing that we can handle, but much more it can be done through this collaboration in the area of trade, where capacity of our local industries can take advantage of, increase their production.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I believe if I travel to Zimbabwe next time, I will be traveling in new energy vehicle manufactured in Zimbabwe. And it's a beautiful country. Thank you. And now that Zimbabwe is working towards its Vision 2030, yes, and China actually has just kicked off its latest 15th five-year plan from 2026 to 2030 as well, with a focus on high-quality development in areas such as science and technology, digital economy, and green transition as well. So in terms of those new areas for collaboration, what opportunities are there for Zimbabwe and China to further explore?
Yes, thank you once again. We have been taken through to understand, like I mentioned earlier on, that you have quite a rich history, beginning from the year 1953, I suppose. You embarked on a 5-year planning horizon that is enabled you to target specific issues, including poverty, that you've been able to eradicate by 2021, when you completed a century from the commencement of the CPC in 1921. And your celebration has been so remarkable when you celebrated the total eradication of poverty. So what we are learning is that your 5-year plans have been so effective, and it has made you to achieve specific interests and specific programs, and he has been able to build the capacity that you are now leveraging on, even as you enter into this current phase of the 5-year development program, where you are intending to continue to modernize your economy. You've just spoken about your focus being on the greening of your economy, the advancements in your green energy. There is much more that we can do together in that area. You will be aware that Zimbabwe is known for lithium, and not only lithium, quite a number of minerals that are used in the greening of our revolution are found in Zimbabwe. So that's an area where we can collaborate more. I know you've already started to have this collaboration with us in Zimbabwe in terms of ensuring that you are investing in the extraction. We have the minerals ourselves, but what we didn't have over the years was the technology and the investments to extract the minerals. So we view and value this relationship so much that we are now able to extract those minerals, and going forward we can continue to collaborate in ensuring that processes most of these minerals in my country before they are left out of the country. And this is our new thinking that we have. You will be aware that just giving an example of lithium is a mineral that previously we allowed the mineral to be exported at concentrate level, and we have a very clear plan to determine the standard of processing for each and every mineral before it now exits our borders. And we are now at a stage where lithium can now exit our borders when it has been processed into lithium sulfate. And going forward, we want to get to a point where we will be exporting it at battery grade. And the kind of collaboration that we seek from China is that of enabling us to get to what we envisage. And when we get to the year 2030, I think you are already aware that we have set targets for ourselves, and we have our own aspirations, and we should require a lot of partnerships, a lot of collaborations to enable us to value add the minerals in Zimbabwe. And I'm sure that is not only for the benefit of Zimbabwe, but even for the benefit of the Chinese investors. And to us, value of the minerals is enhanced, and also jobs will be created for people back home. And we want to see ourselves sometime eradicating poverty the way that we have done that it changes before we got to 2030. We had already eradicated poverty completely. So that's what we want to also realize ourselves.
Thank you for mentioning that China did eradicate absolute poverty under one target here in China. Just want to get your observations on China's poverty alleviation drive maybe failed. What were two stories that you observed, and what experiences and lessons came from the other drive?
We have been taken through to understand how you managed to achieve that goal of absolute eradication of poverty. The transformation that happened in villages, we are aware that some time ago, China had problems on how to feed its growing population, on how to industrialize. So those are very big and very good lessons for us to say going forward. We need to be too deliberate. Of course, we have our own endeavors, but we are taking a leaf from how you managed to achieve what you have just achieved as a nation. We learned about the work of the CPC, and that at some point, some high-profile members of the CPC had to be deployed into villages to become village heads, so as to spearhead development whilst being part of the communities that they were assigned to. We also learned about the partnerships that exist between very rich provinces and those that are still low, as a way of trying to upgrade them to be where sense that drawn from that experience to indicate that at some point it was just a mini village, but now pride of having more than 20 million investments that are there, and even the growth of the GDP, we were told that by 2025 it had grown to surpass 540 billion as changing around. So it's something that we would also want to take a leaf from, the way that you have developed, the deliberate policies that you have had, and obviously try to align with our own aspirations, especially the one that we have of becoming an upper middle income society when we get to the year 2030.
Yeah, thinking as a pioneer when it comes to China's special economic zone. As I understand, I think Zimbabwe has also established several special economic zones as well. Of course, as I mentioned, China's poverty alleviation drive has contributed to the leadership of the CPC, and this year is actually marks the 101st anniversary of the founding of the Communist Party of China. And the NPF and the CPC actually has frequent exchanges, just largely due to further enhance party-to-party exchanges. And personally, how do you observe CPC's leadership in leading China, leading the world's largest developing country?
Thank you very much. The way by which CPC has led the development of China to us speaks of the supremacy of the party over the government, where the party becomes the brains or the drive behind the development that is supposed to be spearheaded in a nation. So we also take the same approach as in Zimbabwe, where ZANU-PF, being the ruling party, establishes the government, and much of what we are doing has to be driven by the party, and currently that's what is obtaining. So my view is that we just need to strengthen collaboration, party-to-party collaboration, as much as there are collaborations on government to government. Our parties must continue to interact from time to time, having similar exchanges like the one that we are having on government to government, so that our leaders in the party may also get this kind of experience that CPC had had. So a lot has to be exchanged between our parties, so that we also get to know what can be done by our party as ZANU-PF to stay for long leading our country. Party-to-party exchanges is definitely also one of the important exchanges around our people, because this year marks the China-African Year of people-to-people exchanges. Just to further enhance our mutual understanding among the peoples, I just want to know more ideas. What more can we do, be it in education, in youth, in culture, and in tourism as well? There's a lot that we can do together. You mentioned very critical areas, and those are the areas of concern for every nation. The area of education, the area of health, and obviously what makes parties to stay in power is their ability to deliver on those expectations, where people will be expecting to deliver after in terms of their health. I'm aware that China is one of the countries that has a population of a large population of the elderly, and how they have been able to provide for what we have learned so far is quite amazing, and it's something that we think our leadership in the party can always get to share with these exchanges, the area of health, and the area of our youth. Our youth, like in our case, they also should be the majority of our people in Zimbabwe. And obviously something that we want to ensure that there is a very good demographic dividend that is obtained from exposing our youth to modernization, modern trends, and what can make them to become good leaders in the future. And you mentioned the issue of cultural exchanges is something that we are very much interested in to share our cultures, because that's what brings us together when we are sharing our cultures. We continue to become one, and our brotherly relationship will continue to be deepened. So I think there are quite a lot of areas where this kind of collaboration can continue on. But as we identify specific areas, one good thing is we should always be communicating and to ascertain how collaboration can be deepened on identified areas.
Yes, and when it comes to technological exchanges, media definitely has a big role to play. And what would we expect Chinese journalists and Chinese audiences to better understand about Zimbabwe, be it culture, be it the characteristics, the features?
Yes. We expect the journalists or the media professionals from China to get to understand our natural endowments in Zimbabwe. The area of tourism is one such area where we are passionate about. And you will be aware that Zimbabwe last year was mentioned as a tourist area of much interest last year. Yes, by Forbes magazine, in an area where one has to visit by Forbes magazine. So it's an area where the journalists from China can speak about and a lot of sites that are in Zimbabwe that many people probably don't know. Many times people speak about Victoria Falls, but that's not the only place of interest in Zimbabwe. There are many others. You can talk of the Nyanga Mountains. You can talk of Matopos Hills. You can talk of River. There's just examples that I can give for now. And the way that we have been able to preserve our wild animals is amazing. You know, we have developed a system where our people are coexisting with our animals. We have not destroyed them like other jurisdictions have done. We live with our animals, and if that can be popularized, publicized, opinion of our leaders that Zimbabwe has to be a friend to all and an enemy to none. It's something that must be going out into the world, that everybody knows that when you are in Zimbabwe, you are safe. You are loved by the people that are in Zimbabwe, and the people who are ready to share their history, their traditions, their cultures, even with foreigners. We are a happy people that is just development focused.
Of course, these wealthy people and the new culture is still in my mind. That's why I'm still eager to get out. We're living in a world of rising uncertainties. We are faced with common challenges such as climate change, regional security, and disrupted global trade. So what can we do to stand together to safeguard the interest of China, Africa, and the global south?
My view is that for multilateralism, where we should exist together and helping one another to solve common challenges. You mentioned the issue of climate change. We share the atmosphere, whether far or very close. We share the atmosphere. So whatever bad things that we do to the atmosphere, it doesn't matter where you will be. You are affecting the environment that affects everybody. So we should be mindful of the way that we are treating our environment, our atmosphere, in the sense that what we do to the atmosphere doesn't just impact on our livelihoods immediately and nearby, but people that are far away can still be affected by how we conduct ourselves. So we must put our heads together and ensure that we work very closely to ensure that what damages our environment is curtailed or is minimized. And we must be coming up with ways and means of mitigating the effects that have already occurred, and we continue to reduce all the time. Those that have developed faster than others should also find a way of assisting in terms of mitigation and in terms of ensuring that there is recovery from the effects, for example, the effects of climate change, which are in some instances bringing about droughts and even the wind. So by working together closely even as international community, we should be able to reduce the effects by coming up with a variety of interventions. Those that have developed faster than other nations should also assist, especially in planning for mitigation and creation of resilience, especially for less developed nations. So this is my view that we should tackle this together, collectively, and not as individuals. And the efforts of the United Nations should continue to be emphasized and reinforced as we deal with these catastrophes.
Yes,
I worked in Zimbabwe for several years, and I know this interview only captures part of the country's beauty, vitality, and potential. But with growing exchanges between China and African countries, including Zimbabwe, more people are gaining first-hand understandings of each other's societies, cultures, and development paths. That deeper understanding will further consolidate the partnership between the two sides. That's it for this edition of China-Africa Talk. You can find us on major podcast platforms and on Substack. Just search China-Africa Talk. I'm Gao Junya. Thank you for listening. Bye for now.